Today I will show how to make an agreement in tenant management. This is a very important topic. To work with agreements, we need two tables, one master table and one details table. Right now, we are looking at the master table. In this table, we've applied several check constraints to ensure data accuracy. First, the approve underscore flag can only be 0 or 1, meaning not approved or approved. Similarly, the active underscore flag also accepts only 0 or 1, indicating whether the record is active or inactive. The payment underscore cycle must be one of these four values: D4 daily, W4 weekly, M4 monthly, and Y4 yearly. The discount must always be 0 or a positive number, no negative discounts are allowed. Same goes for VAT underscore PR, it must be 0 or above. And finally, you'll notice each constraint ends with enable, which means the database will enforce these rules. If anyone tries to insert invalid data, the system will block it automatically. Now I will create the table. Here we're adding two foreign key constraints to our agreement master table. The first one links customer underscore NO to the PM underscore customer table. The second one links sales underscore EMP underscore NO to the manager underscore NO column in the PM underscore sales manager table. This ensures that only valid customer and sales manager records can be used in the agreement. This trigger automatically generates a unique AGR underscore ID when a new agreement is inserted. It checks the highest existing ID, adds one, and formats it like AGR 001, AGR 002, and so on, ensuring the ID is always sequential and autofilled if not provided. Now I will create a form based on the master table. The form has been created. Now I will set it up. My basic setup is done. Now I will create a separate region to organize the payment-related items separately. And I will move the buttons to the breadcrumb bar. A default LOV has been automatically created for the customer item because of the foreign key. Now I will modify that LOV. First, I will rename the LOV, and then I will add a custom query. Next, I will map the columns accordingly. In the same way, I will also modify the LOV for the sales manager. We can see that the customer LOV is displaying data from multiple columns. In the Sales Manager LOV as well, data from multiple columns is being displayed. Now I will enter some test data. Working. Now I will work on the details part. So for the details, I need to create a table which will include item_no, quantity, rate, etc. Here we're adding foreign key constraints to the details table PM_AGR_DTLS. The first constraint links AGR_NO to the master table PM_AGR_MST, so each detail must belong to a valid agreement. The second constraint links item_NO to the PM_item table, ensuring that only valid items can be selected. Now I will create a grid to allow data entry in the details section. For the Details section, I will select the Details table. Now I will enable edit mode on the grid so that data can be entered. If agrDTL_NO is not already set as the primary key, we need to define it as the primary key manually. However, if the primary key was already defined when creating the table, it will be set automatically in the grid. I will use an LOV for the item name field. Here we can see a process that was automatically created when we enabled edit mode on the grid. Here we can see a sample code. I will use this as a reference to write my own code. His process handles insert, update, and delete actions in the grid. If a new row is added, it inserts into the PM_AGR_DTLS table. If a row is updated, it updates the existing data using rowed. And if a row is deleted, it removes the record using agrDTL_NO. This logic runs automatically for each row based on its status. Here we need to make a small modification. For example, instead of using agr_no, we will use the form item p11_agr_no. This way, the master detail relationship will be properly maintained during insert operations. Now I will try to insert data into both the master and details sections. We can see that data is being entered into both the master and details sections. Now I will adjust the item rows so that the page height can be reduced. Now I will use the grid region as a subregion of the form. I will hide the unnecessary buttons from the toolbar. For now, we don't need active underscore flag and VAT underscore PR, so I will hide them. Here I will add an extra column named amount, which will automatically calculate the value of QTY rate. Next, I will apply a condition inside the grid so that it shows detail data based on the selected master record. As you can see, when I enter QTY and rate, the amount is not updating. So now I will create a dynamic action to calculate and show the data in real time. Here I will add quantity and rate fields. In the affected elements, I will select the amount column. I will change the event from change to key release so that the calculation happens in real time as I type. We can see that it's working in real time now. Now we will see how to bring the total amount from the grid to a page item. First, I will set a static ID for the grid. For that, I will go to the page function and global variable declaration section. This function calculates the total of the amount column from the grid. It loops through all grid rows, adds up the valid amount values, and then updates the page item P11 underscore total underscore amount with the final total. The result is rounded to 2 decimal places using to fixed 2. This script listens for changes in the amount column of the grid using the static ID AGR underscore grid. When the grid is created, it subscribes to any change in the amount field. If any amount is changed, it calls the update model function to recalculate the total. It also runs once on page load to show the initial total. Now I will save it and try it out. Whenever I enter the rate, the total amount is automatically appearing. Right now, if I enter a discount, it's not affecting the total. So I need to write another JavaScript code to handle that. Before that, I will make a small modification in the existing code so that the total amount value also appears in both subtotal and grand total fields. Now I am entering the input value. We can see that along with the total amount, both the subtotal and grand total are also being updated. Now I will work on the discount functionality. This function calculates the subtotal after applying the discount. It takes the P11 underscore total underscore amount and subtracts P11 underscore discount from it. If the result is negative, it resets the subtotal to 0. I will copy this function and create a dynamic action to trigger it. Here I will enter the function name. Now I will try by entering a discount value. We can see that when a discount is entered, it is affecting the subtotal correctly. Now we will perform the VAT calculation. This function handles full VAT calculation, including subtotal, VAT amount, and grand total. First, it subtracts the discount from the total amount to get the subtotal. Then it calculates the VAT amount using the VAT percentage. Finally, it adds VAT to the subtotal to get the grand total. It updates 3 page items. P11 underscore SUB underscore total. P11 underscore VAT underscore amount. P11 underscore grand underscore total. All rounded to 2 decimal places. Now I will copy the function name and create a dynamic action to trigger it. Now I will enter a VAT value and test it. We can see that both VAT and discount are working perfectly. But there's a small issue here. For example, if I enter the discount first and then apply VAT, it works fine. However, if I edit the discount later, the entire calculation shows the wrong values. To fix this, I will call both functions from a single dynamic action by adding the names of the 2 functions together. Now I will recheck the entire calculation to ensure everything is working correctly. Now the overall calculation is working perfectly. Now I will improve the appearance of the payments section items. Now I will input full data with master in details to test. Yes. It has been created perfectly. Now I will create a report so that the data can be viewed after creation. Now I need to write a query based on the agreement table. This report is based on the agreement master table. It shows each agreement's ID, date, customer name, and the sales representative involved in the agreement. Below that, it shows who created the record, when it was created, and who last modified it, along with the respective timestamps. To improve clarity, I've added icons for approve and active status. If the agreement is approved, it shows a green check icon with the label approved. If it's still pending, it shows an orange hourglass icon with the label pending. Similarly, for active status, it shows a green dot for active agreements and a red dot for inactive ones. The report also includes financial and contractual details such as expiry date, payment cycle, collection duration, total amount, down payment, installment, and waived amount. Finally, I've used joins to fetch related names from the customer, manager, and user tables so that the report is informative and user-friendly. The report is working perfectly, but there are a few unnecessary columns that don't need to be shown to the user. So I'm going to hide them to make the report cleaner and easier to read. These columns might still be useful internally or for processing, but they don't need to be visible in the front-end report. I've mostly finished modifying the report. Now I'm going to connect this report with the form, so that when I click on a row, it opens the form with that data. This will allow me to view and edit existing records directly from the report. It improves the workflow and makes the data management much easier. As you can see, editing is now very easy. I can just click on any record in the report, and it opens up the form with all the details filled in. This makes updating data smooth and user-friendly. Now I'm going to add a button on the report page. This button will allow users to go directly to the agreement form to create a new entry. It's helpful when someone wants to add a new agreement without having to search or navigate manually. So in today's video, I showed how to work with master detail forms and how to use JavaScript for real-time calculations. This is a very important part of building interactive forms. If you face any issues or have questions, feel free to comment below and let me know.